Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 23 Driver Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. Season 4 is underway, fresh off of the Australian Grand Prix, and we have major upgrades. You see 4 upgrades come in right there. Hoping for 6, we don't get that, we lose those 2, but then we get 3 more. So we come in 7 upgrades on this Red Bull Ford coming into Azerbaijan. It doesn't make as quite an impact as we would hope, but we still come into this weekend with some high hopes here now, fresh off of a bit of a disappointment with an early retirement in Australia to kick off this new era of Formula One. And we had some quick words from Christian Horner.
Obviously a bit disappointing to retire the car, Gary, but we and other teams have a learning curve with this new regulation change. I think we'll be fine in the long run. So don't worry and get after it this weekend.
And that was our influential words from Christian Horner, you know, talking about the retirement that we had last episode in Melbourne. Not ideal, but we as well saw the McLaren driver of Aiden Jackson, you know, face the same fate at the end of that Grand Prix. He had a mechanical failure as well. It was Alex Albon who picked up the first win of the new era of Formula One here in Season 4. So I'm excited to see just where we're going to stack up here today in Azerbaijan, because it looked like we were far behind in the R&D, but we saw the pace was there. We held on with Mercedes, you know, for as long as we were in the race at least. So the question is, can we do the same thing here today? Free practice 1, it was okay. We ended up 3rd and 5th respectively between Verstappen and myself. At the bottom of the grid, it was the 2 rookies of JQs as well as Kali Mayer. Drugovic, the other 3rd rookie up there in P8 as we roll through into quali.
What's the expectation today, Gary?
I think just putting both cars in the top 6, pretty straightforward, and we'll be content with that, and hopefully that'll set us up well for tomorrow.
All right, good luck.
Ready to roll in quali. Q1, Q2 should be a breeze for this Red Bull Ford, so it was exactly that. We roll through to Q1, no issues getting through. We go to P6, P4, P6 for Verstappen and myself. The 5 drivers out, however, JQs, Drugovic, Pourchaire, Mayer, and Iwasa, so all 3 rookies out there, with Iwasa being at the bottom of the grid. Q2 shouldn't really take much of an effort in this early part of the season, at least, to get through, and exactly that. We were P3 actually in Q2. Really happy with that. Verstappen 6. Bit of a surprise. Carlos Sainz out. We know Ferrari has been a little ways down the R&D to kick off this season, but they got some work to do, and I do believe from, you know, what I'm seeing, Ferrari and Aston Martin are going to be joining the fight for the front of the grid as the season continues on. We could have half the grid fighting for wins later this season, which is quite an exciting thing to think about, but that's not the focus right now. We're trying to, of course, make the most of what we have currently in the beginning part of this long, grueling 23 race season, and it of course kicks off with getting a good qualifying effort under our belt. And I struggled a little bit on this lap, and this is the only lap that I'm going to get in, so I wasn't quite sure where we were going to stack up at this point in time, but you see a bit of a mistake right there as well. I just overall was a bit of a scrappy lap. We're going to come through to cross the line, and it's not going to be what I was hoping. As you can see, it was P6, which was still the expectation I had set, so I was happy about that, but I wanted a little bit more. 3/10 or so off my teammate of Max Verstappen, while Leclerc, Piastri, Tsunoda, and Ocon there 7th through 10th, and it's Albon, Jackson, McLaren front row with the 2 Mercedes to follow as we get ready to head to the grid Sunday. Let's go racing. No sprint weekend, thank goodness.
A warm welcome to you all at home for today's Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a race that in its short history has already proven no stranger to drama, and where a 4th row start is just about as likely to give you a podium as pole position, with Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez finishing 3rd from there in 2017 and 2018 respectively. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Alex Albon leads us away from pole position, and it's Aiden Jackson alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Russell, Verstappen, Golden Boy, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Ocon, Sainz, Gasly, Joe, Liam Lawson, Butler, Hughes, Drugovic, Teo Porcher, Oscar Piastri, Mayer and Ayumu Iwasa. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson is alongside me, as usual, for today's race.
Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today.
Let's have a chat about Williams. There have been some tweaks to the power unit regulations, of course, and I have to say it doesn't seem, so far at least, that they've been able to keep up.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
I think it is crucial to put up the best effort we can early on in the season, because we know as the season goes on, this Red Bull is going to get more competitive compared to the other teams we're chasing. So it's all about damage limitation in the first, I'd say, 5, 6 or so Grand Prix. Mediums to hards, let's get ready to roll.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway and the track temperature looks warm. That may or may not play into some of the team's hands in today's race.
We see a lot of mixed strategy, including teammates in front of us of the McLaren's medium-hard split for both McLaren and as well Mercedes softs, mediums, hards present all throughout the grid. Both Red Bulls, however, myself, Verstappen starting on mediums.
We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Okay, we're looking for a clean start into turn 1 here, get through the mess and carry on.
Yes, sir. Let's have fun today, guys. Thanks for the hard work all weekend. We're ready to roll. Same compound tire as Verstappen, both of us on the mediums. Red Bull Ford got off to a bit of a rocky start, no podium in Melbourne, and then, of course, the mechanical failure, the gearbox failure to be specific for myself. It's a McLaren front row lockout while they sweep the first 2 races of the season. Albon on pole, Jackson in second. It's going to be lights out, we're racing here for round number 2 of this long season, and it's a poor start for Verstappen and Jackson as well. Norris into second. Russell trying to go around the outside of the sophomore, second season driver of Jackson there. I myself played it quite cautious into turn 1, more or less just trying to survive, and look at this, Esteban Ocon with a deep lunge up the inside of myself into turn 2. Fortunately, we're able to stay ahead here now as we can focus in on trying to move forward now. Now, last episode, what we saw in Australia for, the whatever amount of laps we were actually racing for before we retired was passing in the first part of the run is quite difficult, but as the tire wear starts to kick in, as the strengths and weaknesses of the cars start to show as the run goes on, that's when the passing opportunities were starting to open up. And unfortunately, just as everything felt like it was starting to materialize and get interesting was when the gearbox broke on our cars, so we didn't really get to put everything into full effect, you could say. So that was frustrating. I'm hoping that we can change that today. Albon leads over the 2 Mercedes teammates, and then Jackson down into the 4th position. Verstappen, myself, Ocon, Leclerc 7th and 8th just behind. Leclerc starts on the hards, Ocon on the soft, so he's going to put a little bit of pressure on us early on here in this first lap or 2, but I'm expecting similar results to Melbourne, is that we're going to pull away from that group of cars behind us, especially when they start to battle, and that's what Tsunoda was starting to do with Leclerc. So you can see they were already about 2 seconds behind us as we come through to lap 3. Now you can see as well Ocon really hadn't drifted out of the DRS yet. He was just barely hanging on to it, but we would eventually start to drop him in the background, especially now that DRS was enabled and the cars in front of us are just able to go so much faster than an Alpine, so we can kind of get pulled away from him. And you can see now lap 4, almost 2 seconds between myself and Ocon here. Now, as I felt like I was faster actually at this point than Verstappen, looking for an opportunity, passing a bit difficult early in the run here. Now with this new regulation change, I've noticed, and I was getting a little bit annoyed quickly because I felt like I had more pace than Verstappen, and I was going to mention it to Mark. I'm way quicker than him. He just made a mistake right there. Can you just let me by?
We'll forward the message.
Max, let Gary through, please.
I told you already last time. You guys don't ask that again to me. Okay? Are we clear about that?
So Verstappen says no. Fortunately for me, however, he has no DRS from Jackson, so it's really not even going to matter that much. We get alongside with the DRS, the rear wing open, and we as well use quite a bit of battery here down this front straightaway, and we'll clear Verstappen, complete the pass, move up into P5, but already a little bit of tension right there between himself and I in just our second race together. We didn't have, any chance to battle each other in Melbourne, and we didn't really battle right there either. He just says, I'm not going to let you by. You're going to have to do it straight up, and we did it straight up, and now basically we are pulling Verstappen along with us here in the DRS and trying to run down the cars in front. Jackson just over a second ahead, barely out of the DRS range. I would really like to have DRS so I could save a little bit of battery right now, but I couldn't quite get into it and actually continued to fade backwards a little bit, even 2 seconds back as we came to lap 7, while Russell runs in third, 3.2 seconds up the road. As in the background, some battles happening. That's Callie Mayer going around one of the rookies from last season. Tail Porcher, of course, stays on with the Alfa Romeo Haas project. How long will this continue on for? We'll have to wait and see, because it's not been a pretty start to the season for him. But look at the gaps now changing. So 3 seconds still to Russell. Jackson, he had gotten on with it, so we really haven't lost time, actually. The gap stayed the same to Russell as we start to see now Sainz come into the pit lane on lap 10. A bit of an earlier stop than expected. He's going on to the medium, so we'll wait and see what the Spaniard is capable of doing, as I'm having a little bit of a slip and slide here now. But look at the gap now to Russell, just over 2 seconds. So we're losing time to the McLarens, both the McLarens, but we're hitting that point that I talked about where we were hitting in Melbourne, where the strengths and the weaknesses of the cars are starting to show with the regulation changes. And I think our Red Bull Ford really is good under the long run. And now we are starting to close in consistently lap after lap on Russell, and we would come in at the end of lap 12 though. As I was closing that gap, I decided we were so close to the pit window, about a lap away from it, why not pit now? And then basically just try to undercut him and basically not have to worry about fighting him right off the bat, because I know we'll probably get into a fight once this pit cycle is over. So we come in, put on the hards, we're going to exit, and we have no traffic to deal with. We'll have to deal with Charles Leclerc, but that's really going to be it, and we'll be in pretty good shape after that, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of pace we can put up. Now, something weird was happening behind us as I was making my pit stop. This is Sainz following Iwasa, who was trying to pit. That slowed him up and brought a whole cluster of cars together, including Oscar Piastri, who had already, I believe, made his pit stop, and Callie Mayer right in the thick of it. Piastri's trying to get on with it on these mediums, just like Carlos Sainz is, and you can see them two actually make a little bit of contact right there, but the rookie Callie Mayer hanging on here on the outside, but unfortunately, her Connor Sport car, just not the quickest car in the world. And here comes the Liam Lawson now up the inside of Piastri here into the braking zone of turn 3, and he is able to squeeze in between Piastri as well as Mayer, as now here I am passing Leclerc at the end of lap 12 or 13 coming to 14, and this is when Russell and Jackson were just coming out of the pits now, and they're right there. Russell is right there. We've closed in on Jackson, but he's a little way out of reach still. And now, as we come to a little bit later, lap 15, actually you can see, I believe, some yellow flags up there, and that's Lando Norris that's highlighting. Yes, it is. Norris in the Mercedes has potentially got a mechanical failure here, breaking down. There it is. Norris out of the session now, and in just the first 2 races of the season, all 3 top teams have had a car have a mechanical failure. Certainly a free position for us, but that's showing, the growing pains of these new cars and these regulations that have changed in the offseason and going to the new engines with the V8s. Albon's in, no safety car, nothing. The last 2 Baku City Grand Prix, we've had red flags, actually, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen here today right now. So we're going to come out in front of Verstappen. Albon pitted and still came out in front of everybody. However, he's only right there in turn 2. He's just barely in front of his McLaren teammate of Aiden Jackson. Jackson looking for his first career podium here today. Of course, what an upgrade he got from leaving Connor Sport. Zach Brown was willing to take a risk on Aiden Jackson, and it appears to be working out so far. He has put up a consistent pace. He's not been as quick as Albon, as you can tell, but as we come to lap 17, it's time to go through the grid here in Azerbaijan.
McLaren out in control of the first 2 positions as their rocket start to a season continues. Could we see Jackson get his first podium today?
If nothing goes wrong, then absolutely. Looks like Russell's coming under fire from Owen. We see that the Red Bull is really strong as the tyres age. They just need to find that fresh rubber pace in the coming races.
How about Ocon in 6th? Alpine really do have some pace to start this year. But we're going to go over to Natalie, however, who has caught up with Lando Norris after his retirement.
Unfortunate engine failure there, Lando. Any idea what happened?
Yeah, but I can't tell you.
Fair enough. What's the mindset going into Spain now?
No change of mindset. You know, we have a fast car and we'll just keep pushing.
Thanks, Lando.
Short and sweet there, guys. From my understanding, it was something to do with a leak in the engine that has taken him out of the running.
Thanks, Detective Ted. You see Joe having a bit of a scrap with Lawson for 12th as they have a large margin over the BMW rookie behind.
Drugovich is the highest running rookie currently over Hughes and Mayer, who's scored in 19th currently.
At the bottom of the grid there, you see Callie Mayer. Can she move her way forward? We are moving our way forward. We're onto the back now of George Russell as we wrap up through the grid, and now looking for an overtake to put us for the first time this season in a podium position. And once again, you know, like I said earlier, the long run speed in this Red Bull is where the strengths of this car are at. So it's all about just kind of hanging in there as the race goes on, because late we're going to be so strong. Sides is in for a new wing, actually, and Liam Lawson's in. No new wing there, but then watch this. In front of us is Zhou Guan Yu, who's really made, you know, no noise today, is in for a wing as well. And this is why. What are you doing there, Zhou? And then watch Carlos Sainz into the next corner. What in the world is going on here? So they both have to come in and pit, and that would open the door for Callie Mayer to actually gain a few positions back now, 3 positions to be exact, as I was just settling in here to 3rd place. But it's going to be very difficult to pull away from Russell, and you can see that on display right here. Down the DRS front straightaway just blows the doors off of my doorless car. So down to 4th place we go. 8.5 seconds right now to Max Verstappen. Him staying out so long, you know, it worked for Albon. It did not work for Max Verstappen. So it's made it a pretty easy ending to the Grand Prix in terms of not having to worry about our teammate, but the fight is on with George Russell, that's for sure, as we continue on, putting some pressure on him. He nearly goes into the tire barrier right there on the exit of the right-hander, and here we go for an opportunity to overtake him back. I was planning to ride behind him until it mattered at the end of the race, but I mean, you can't pass up an opportunity like that. So we're going to go past Russell, take the position there as lap 24. Drugovich actually goes for a bit of a spin. The rookie looking for his first points, unfortunately. We'll have to wait, obviously, as he's all over the road now, trying to get it back going in the right direction. 3 laps to go at this point, and we were closing in on Aiden Jackson. The gap to Albon, 9.8 seconds. He was on that fresh, soft rubber driving away. We were now out of the DRS range of the car behind of George Russell. Now Albon, he was pulling away a bit, but he wasn't pulling away, you know, a lot anymore. So I was pretty happy about that. I was desperately pushing, trying to run down Jackson, see if we can get there to really test the ability of this Red Bull Ford right off the bat in the 2nd race of the season, and I like what I see. We are already making gains, and we're just going to continue to make gains all season long. It's, you know, been a while where it felt like we actually had a podium-capable car. We had 2 podiums last season in Aston Martin, but it wasn't a car capable of producing podiums. It was luck that put us in position to capitalize on opportunities to get the podiums is what got us there. This time we have a car capable of racing on the podium. We just need a little bit more if we're going to have to fight for a race victory, but it's not going to be enough to get Aiden Jackson. We closed up hard in Sector 2. Now just barely over a second between himself and I. Russell just over a second back as well, but it's Alex Albon coming through to sweep the first 2 Grand Prix of the season. Albon is a winner again, his 3rd win of his career, 2nd of this year. It's going to be a first career podium for Aiden Jackson and our first podium for Red Bull Ford. We will absolutely take that. That will make for surely a happy Christian Horner. P3, I mean, you can't complain about that. Some work still to be done back at the shop, that's pretty obvious. Oscar Piastri gets driver of the day once again. He went on a drive through the grid. Let's head to the podium.
It's never an easy race here in Azerbaijan. There's drama around every corner, but they've come through to take a brilliant victory here today. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Alex Albon, now that Sergio Perez is retired, now that Lewis Hamilton has retired, is he setting himself up to be the next superstar alongside Max Verstappen in Formula One? Of course, Verstappen now a 4-time world champion. As you guys know, he won the title last season, but yet is to be on the podium so far this season. But Albon swept the first two, won the British Grand Prix last season with McLaren, and of course that was his first win in Formula One, and now here he is winning two already in just two Grand Prix this season. Aiden Jackson, of course, wants to be a part of that spotlight, but it all starts by getting that first podium here today, so a great race for Aiden Jackson. McLaren, Zach Brown, I'm sure, are thrilled with the decision of the driver pairing they have made with Lando Norris's departure from the team going into Lewis Hamilton's position. Third and fifth for us, and pretty happy with that because we bring home the second most points of any team. Carlos Sainz and Ferrari, Sainz specifically had a terrible, terrible day. Piastri rebounded to P9. I'm scared of Oscar Piastri if Aston Martin gets to where they need to be because he is really, really quick right now. P6 in the standings, we'll take that. The Constructors, P3, only 8 points off of Mercedes with some work to do going into the next episode, which takes places in Catalonia for the Spanish Grand Prix with the custom calendar mod. I'll see you guys then. Have a great day.